It was so bad. I mean, all I remember was the time is now 7 o'clock. We call to order the Winterville Planning and Zoning Board meeting to order for April 17, 2023. To all of our board, we welcome you here. We appreciate you being here tonight. Just please note that the agenda has been amended from the one that was emailed to us in our packet. One such item that was amended was the approval of the previous meeting minutes. The town clerk has been out sick leave, so he has not completed those minutes for us to approve. So that is the amendment to the agenda from the one that was emailed to you in your packet. We welcome again Stephen back to the helm, who did a great job years ago as we were searching for Brian, and now he's back in that role, and we look forward to great things moving forward as he endeavors into his new role. We also welcome back those of you who couldn't be with us at our last meeting, and those who are just now joining us. We have one excuse absence from Morris Lumpton. Anyone else, or that's it?
That's all that I have received. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, so with regard to the excused absence, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the excused absence of Morris.
I second it.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor use the voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed use the same voting sign of aye. No opposed. All right. Approval of tonight's agenda.
I make a motion to approve that.
A second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor use your voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed use the like sign, voting sign of aye. No opposed. New business. Mr. Penn?
All right. Thank you so much, Planning and Zoning Board. Good evening. Before I get started, I want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm excited about this new role. I'm going to miss Brian a lot. He and I became really good friends in our work together, and going to try my best to make it a smooth transition. But as we continue, if there's something that you guys want to see differently, then certainly let me know. I'm happy to change things as we go along or amend things as well. So again, thank you. Today, Planning and Zoning Board meeting, April 17th. First thing on our agenda is Reedy Branch Farms. It's a preliminary plat. Stroud Engineering is the applicant. It's located at 6178 Reedy Branch Road, roughly 1,800 feet east of Reedy Branch Road and east of Ernest Lofton Road as well. You'll see this on a map in a second. It's 15.21 acres. The current zoning is agricultural residential. Proposed lot count is 4 lots. And as you see on this map, there is, you can see Highway 11 to the furthest west, coming straight down the map. And then as you move over a bit, you'll run into Reedy Branch Road, Old 11, Church Street, Ernest Lofton, and then you start to reach this 15-acre lot that's in blue. I know it's hard to see on the screen. This is an image of the preliminary plat. Again, it's showing 4 lots that will be connected to Reedy Branch Road. Also worth noting, on the bottom right of this screen is a common lot line driveway detail as requested by NCDOT to bring the driveways closer to the lot lines on 1 and 2 and closer to the lot lines on 3 and 4 so that you do not have driveways at far distances. They're much closer together to create only really 2 impactful points. Again, it's a bit hard to see on the screen, but this is showing how it would lay out on that site. So our subdivision ordinance, our Greenville Urban Area MPO Transportation Plan designates Reedy Branch Road at this location as a minor thoroughfare, and that's important for our next slide. Our subdivision ordinance states that when a major or minor thoroughfare, when a residential subdivision is located on a major or minor thoroughfare, driveway access shall be from a secondary road and not connected directly to the thoroughfare unless it's necessitated by topography, property accessibility, and only when specifically approved by council. With that said, talking with DOT, they stated that in 2021, this section of the road was only seeing about 750 vehicles a day. And using a 1% growth factor, which is their estimate for this area, in 2023, we're seeing an estimated 765 vehicles per day. NCDOT's stance was that this is not a significant amount of traffic that would warrant any roadway mitigation, and that the grouping of the driveways on the property lines only creates two conflicting points rather than the four, since there are 4 total lots. Again, approval of the driveways onto the thoroughfare is available to be granted by council. And I ask that you consider this in your approval of granting or denying this preliminary plat. If anybody has any questions about this preliminary plat, I know that was a little bit, I know that the caveat of the major and minor thoroughfare is a little unique on this situation. However, you know, it's certainly, certainly a situation that you should look at case by case, I believe.
Steve, can you go back to the aerial view?
Absolutely.
Do you have your pointer?
I tried my pointer earlier, and it does work, but it's hard to see. So right here is the subject site. It's about 15 acres. This is Ernest Lofton Road right here. So this is Reedy Branch traveling here, and then it goes across Old 11 and then eventually across Highway 11 right there.
So going to the next point. Yeah, so where's the, show us the pointer on the driveways on?
So the driveways are not actually called out on the preliminary plat as much as just a detail right here showing that it will be 10-foot minimum from number one. And so right here, 10 foot away north of this property line, there will be a driveway. 10 foot south of this property line, there will be a driveway. Same is true with this property line too. 10 foot north will be a driveway, 10 foot south would be a driveway. And the reason why DOT felt that was a proper design was, you know, if you put one here, put one here, put one here, and put one here, then you'd have multiple areas for traffic to stop. But if you clustered them together, then you would only have 2 major impact areas.
For my orientation, can you go back to the previous slide with regard to, so where, I see Highway 11, where is this in relations to the church, the community college?
So this is about as far south in our jurisdiction as you find. In fact, our ETJ probably runs roughly right here. So this is just about as far south as the town of Winterville runs. And just to give you kind of an example, are you guys familiar with the, let me think, the town's operations center, for instance, is located right here at the very northernmost of this map. So this is
Church Street Extension.
correct.
Right.
So this is as far south in our jurisdiction than you would find. Does that, are you oriented? Another way I guess I could explain it is if you continue Reedy Branch right here, you would eventually run into Old Tar Road right here. So there's not a lot of development that you see in this portion of Winterville at the moment.
I guess I have a question. Well, I guess I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's not as developed now, but if in the future, more development, what would those, even just two driveways, how would that?
That is a great question. In fact, I think that's the intent of the ordinance. I think the ordinance is saying, yes, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 driveways today is not much of a concern, or potentially not much of a concern. In the future, it could be, is the concern. I think also the ordinance is trying to create a situation where along Reedy Branch Road, you don't have single lots just up and down Reedy Branch Road, rather than neighborhoods that have interior loaded streets. So that is the trade-off or the concern with approving it, is that one day down the road, who knows how long that could be. It could be 5 years from now. It could be never that it becomes an issue, but that is the intent, as I believe, of the ordinance.
So can you go back to the slide then that actually showed the design of the driveways?
Yes.
I did miss that initially. Yes, bottom right corner.
Yes.
Plain Reedy Branch's entrance, if you will, the orientation that we saw it on the map before, in relation to the driveway description.
So this property line right here will feed directly onto Reedy Branch, as Reedy Branch is running right here adjacent to these properties. So you'll have two, one north of this by 10 foot, one south of this by 10 foot, both of them feeding onto Reedy Branch Road.
Okay.
The same is true with this property line. You have one just north of it by 10 foot, one south of it by just 10 foot, both feeding onto Reedy Branch Road.
Stephen, I know both of those are identified on the map, and it's easy to see those, but you mentioned a third one. Where would that be?
A third,
Entrance.
no, there would just be, well, 4 in total, but 2 clusters. So there would be one here,
Right, yeah.
one here, one here.
Yeah,
So 4 in
they're
total, but
identified
just
easily.
2 clusters,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
That's what we're concerned about.
Stephen, question.
Yes, sir.
On your documentation, this document here, you can see it, okay? Usually at the bottom, it says recommendation. That's a very neutral recommendation. Is that on purpose?
It is, yeah. I want the board to be able to make their decision on this as they see fit. I certainly understand the intent of the ordinance. After talking with NCDOT, which are traffic engineers and much higher above my knowledge with traffic, I feel like it's fair to put the opinion on the planning and zoning and council.
To the best of your knowledge, does this meet all the requirements of the subdivision laws,
No, because of the,
driveways?
it would only meet the requirements of the subdivision ordinance if council approved the driveways. If council approved the driveways, to the best of my knowledge, it would meet the subdivision ordinance.
Everything else except the driveways is fine.
Now, if a secondary road is required by council, then things will come into play such as the secondary road would then stub out to adjoining properties, things like that. So the design of this would change slightly or potentially even significantly if the owner of the property decides, hey, I'll just wait until sewer finally gets out here one day and do something a little bit closer to what you see and this is not clear. In this subdivision, there's an older subdivision with about, I think it's 20 acres total, so probably about 5 acres larger than this, that has one entrance in, and then it splits out the lots right there. So if it were denied, I don't know what the applicant would then submit, but it could very well be significantly changed.
That Colony Woods,
Colony Woods, thank you. That's exactly what I was looking for.
That area has a lot of potential for growth.
I think everywhere in Winterville has a lot of potential for growth, absolutely.
And the development that was recently approved for the 260 some odd units, isn't that in that area?
Roughly, so it will be in this kind of green space you see right here. It's essentially that. Now, I believe eventually that 200-plus acre development, 612 unit development, should eventually feed onto Reedy Branch Road. It will not feed onto it as it is currently designed and developed because they do not own that land. But it should be expected that the properties between what we typically call the UNC property and Reedy Branch Road will eventually be developed to Reedy Branch Road. In fact, the UNC property will have stubs to those neighboring properties that would then feed onto Reedy Branch Road.
So that existing traffic study that you quoted, it wouldn't really apply based on plans and so forth as traffic from.
You're saying NCDOT did not take that into account? That is correct.
any other questions? If not, what's the pleasure of the board regarding the preliminary plat for the Reedy Branch Farm? We have a motion to approve. We have a second.
I'll second it.
Then moved and properly second. All those in favor, use your voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, use the like sign of using aye to oppose. Well, one opposed.
Was that unanimous? I'm sorry.
No, there was one opposed.
Okay.
All right. The next agenda item is meeting time discussion.
Okay. So the town council has recently changed their meeting times from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. It'll actually begin in the May meeting. We can certainly leave it at 7 p.m. We can change it to 6 p.m., but I just wanted to bring it to the board if anybody had any cares one way or another. And we don't have to make a motion on this necessarily, but if we are changing it, then we would need to make a motion.
Right, and that's what I was going to ask, open up the floor for the board to discuss the matter before, if there's any actions taken. What is, with regard to the change of our current meeting time being moved up 1 hour from 7 to 6, that's correct? Okay, the floor is open.
Mr. Chairman, I would like us to see it remain at 7 o'clock. It's not for my convenience, but I think when we have public hearings and rezonings, I think the public needs to have access to get here. And I think 6 o'clock is pushing it a little too early for that. It's not for my convenience, but I think for the public, and I think that, I'm sorry that the town council made their change. I think it's wrong. I think we should stay at 7.
I personally, this has come up before, and I personally would like us to change it to 6 o'clock. If people can make it to the town meetings at 6, they should be able to, I think, make ours at 6 as well. But that's just my personal preference and opinion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to see it stay at 7 o'clock. For those of us who work, especially working out of town, 6 o'clock is a very tight window to make. And, 6:30 works okay. 7 o'clock is about as perfect a time as, for us people who work that get off at 5 o'clock and try to get home and try to get things settled and get to the meeting. So my request would be to keep it as is.
I would say to keep it at 7. I think in the best interest of not being, considering myself as, thank you, said, I would say, hey, I'm open, but if I consider the town and the residents, I would stay at 7.
And I agree. I would say keep it at 7, based on interest that a lot of the citizens have shown with previous meetings. It gives them the opportunity to participate.
All about 7.
I would probably say selfishly to keep it at 7 p.m. By the time I pick up my daughter and fight through traffic down Evans and can get back home, it's already after 5 o'clock. And by the time we have dinner and as a family, 7 o'clock allows not only myself, but probably the majority of the town an opportunity to do that.
And I think that's certainly fine too. I think the most important aspect is that, the board and citizens can participate. So if that's the pleasure of the board, we'll certainly just keep it at 7.
Well, we were just discussing, so there's no action to be taken at this time, and I too concur, as Mr. Wetland says, that, working out of town, this does give us that window to at least get back in town, adjust, and then come right back out if necessary. So, with the discussion, if there's no other discussion, we'll close this matter and move to the next agenda item. June meeting date?
Yes. So our June meeting date falls on the federal holiday Juneteenth. The town of Winterville is open on Juneteenth, so again, we can certainly keep it on that date if it is the pleasure of the board. I do have some suggested alternative times if it is the pleasure of the board, but I'm leaving it up to the board for that discussion and determination.
I don't know if there's, I'm not aware of scheduled celebrations this year, but I would imagine that there will be certain
I would
celebrations.
think so, absolutely. And just some of the suggested times, again, I just pulled some dates around those dates. I've got June 13th, 14th, 15th, 21st, and 22nd. One of them, June 20th, is actually right before the scheduled Board of Adjustment meeting. It scares me a little bit because it'd have to be done at a time that we don't normally meet, which would be 6 o'clock or even 5:30. The other thing that kind of scares me is if it went over in time. But again, I'd be happy to to work around that if that's something that the board would prefer.
Next, we'll open the floor for discussions with regard to the June meeting, whether we want to keep it on the scheduled third Monday, the 19th, or do we want to make adjustments for that? So the floor is open.
This is for discussion.
Yes.
Well, I would certainly, I'm disappointed that the town of Winterville is not observing the federal holiday. So I certainly would not, as a board member, be in favor of us meeting on that date. So yes, I would love for us to entertain another date.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to try and narrow it down in our discussion, I would suggest either the 13th or the 21st. I mean, I think we've given them wide parameters here, but we can narrow it down. I think one of those two dates, if I could offer a suggestion.
I too would concur, looking at my calendar, this is beyond our graduation, so we should be done with graduations and all those kind of things. So the 13th would work ideally better for me, and that, again, is being selfishly looking out for my own calendar, but likewise, culturally, I would like to also, take part of the federal acknowledgement, whether there's a scheduled celebration or anything, but at least in observance of that. And that's my opinion.
I am open to another Monday. Monday seemed to be a little bit lighter for me. I don't know how far out we can go. I don't know if we would want to look at June 26th, but I do have things on the other dates that have been suggested so far. I'd have to make a choice.
I'm available any of those dates that are listed.
About the 14th.
14th, the Wednesday.
I don't care. I mean, I'm flexible with this one.
13th is fine
Whatever
with me, or any
the
of
majority
the-
wants to do.
Just tell me where to be and what time.
Yeah, the date's fine.
All right, so it appears that we would like to take action and make a motion to adjust the June meeting date from the 19th. We just need an idea of as to which date we would like to make a motion to move the meeting to.
I make a motion that we consider Wednesday, June 14th as our June scheduled meeting.
Okay?
I second.
Does that affect you?
All right, so we have a motion and a second to move the June 19th meeting to June 14th, which is a Wednesday. All those in favor, use your voting sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, use the like sign of aye. None opposed. June meeting will be June 14th.
Perfect. All right, and
Report from staff.
sorry about that. Reports from staff. Town of Winterville is continuing to see a fair amount of development. We've got 24 single-family homes that have been approved this year, slightly ahead of the last 3 years. We're seeing a fair amount of activity growth-wise. One of the probably major developments that you may have heard about is the Lowe's Foods grocery store anchored shopping center that's located on, or going to be located on Beacon Drive behind the Chick-fil-A and Sam Jones area. It'll also have additional retail spaces, 17 to be exact, and that'll determine, there probably won't be 17 additional businesses, but there are 17 spaces that can cater to different sizes of businesses coming in. With that, we have received a new, some construction plans for Brookstone Phase 2 located on Church Street Extension. That's going to have around 50 homes. There's also a new proposal for a townhome development just south of 11 at Main, the townhome development you see in the on the Highway 11 and Main Street area. Another one just south of that has been submitted as a site plan proposal. Staff is currently reviewing that plan, and so we're seeing a fair amount of growth in the town, both residentially and commercially. We're seeing some mini storage as well, a couple, actually two on Reedy Branch, one on the most southern end of Reedy Branch and Highway 11 corner, and one closer to the town of Winterville Cemetery area. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to assist as well.
Y'all know I got a question.
I knew
Y'all
you
know.
did, absolutely.
If you could update me on the, what is happening on the Lori Ellis extension, the athletic development that was proposed for there, that came before this board 6 months or so ago?
Sure, and I want to be a little careful with the term athletic facility proposal. The proposal that came through was a preliminary plat that I believe had the title athletic facility on the side. In my opinion, a proposal will once we get construction plans. From my understanding, the property has not changed hands. The town has not seen anything since that preliminary plat. At this point, I would not consider it a proposal as much as an idea, a desire at this point.
Discouraging. So that land was never purchased by those interested parties?
From my understanding, it is still under contract in a project that is still desired to be developed and expected by the purchasing group. But I just want to kind of, just make sure that I make y'all aware that nothing has been submitted other than that preliminary plat that you saw months ago.
Just a quick question about expansion to town, city limits of services. Are you aware if the town planning to do any expansion, particularly towards the Frog Level area?
Nowadays, most of the developers kind of lead the expansion of development. I haven't received any submittals or development plans that would suggest further development that way at this moment. I believe it's probably something that is not too far in the future, though, as we see Winterville growing, as we see land starting to really disappear in the Winterville jurisdiction as well. Yes, sir.
Stephen, there was a large subdivision came before this board, and I think it went to town board also, in the Davenport Farm, Reedy Branch area. And there was discussion about the traffic signal there by the Baptist church. I'm just wondering I know it's probably early yet, but I'm impatient. I'd love to see something going on.
Yeah, I am too. I'm actually, I'm excited with any growth and development. That's one that I'm particularly really excited about. I think the proposal that group has brought to the town is something that's unique, and it's going to be a great development for the town. My understanding is it's still under works and development with the engineering firm. Town has not received any type of plans further, though, I will say.
Are there any other comments from the board? Questions for?
I just have one last comment.
Yes, sir.
In regards to the items that we approve or disapprove, how much is determined by the plans that the town has for future development, and how much is impacted by comments from residents in the areas that's going to be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. The plans certainly intend to drive the development and the future development of the town. Sometimes it is swayed, but I will say, these plans have to be drawn fairly broad-stroked as well. Part of it's intentionally so that you do look at each proposal on its own proposal, and so that you don't just take a plan that was created and just rubber stamp everything that comes through. At the same time, I think it's a great way to guide staff's suggestions on the site itself. But at the end of the day, I think the intention of these plans is to show what the site could be, but to have enough wiggle room so that you look at each site independently. I don't know if that fully answers your question, but to the best of my extent. Yes, sir. And with that too, these plans are made to be revisited roughly 5 to 10 years. Future land use plan is typically designed for a 20-year vision, and then every 5 to 10 years a small revision, and then on the 20th year you supposedly do a full revision of these plans. So you have to have at least a little bit of wiggle room to ensure that as the town grows, especially on that 5th year, the 7th year, whatever it may be, then it's again, it doesn't rubber stamp developments and doesn't take into consideration the opinions of the community or the surrounding developments as well.
Stephen, in conclusion, for me, I'd like to welcome you again. I
Thank
think
you.
you ran a very fine meeting tonight.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, trying to kind of work my way through this. It's been a while since I've done it. So if anybody has any suggestions, certainly let me know. It will not offend me at all. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
There be anything else before this board, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
It's been moved and proper second. All those in favor, use your voting sign aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, you're welcome to stay.
Oh, good.